Good evening and welcome along to another episode of Mesme Politics. My name's Toby Lapati Mesme. It's just gone 7 p.m. That's right, it's another day of all the politics in the UK and the US. Brought to you live. It's a live interactive radio show. Get in touch in the chat if you're listening live. It is Tuesday, the 15th of December 2020. That's right, Christmas draws ever nearer. We're baubles deep in Christmas times now. Better or worse? That is where we are, and I hope you're doing all right. Been a bit of a hectic day for me. Hope yours was equally hectic, but in an enjoyable way, as mine was. Coming up on the show today, Mitch McConnell finally congratulates Joe Biden on his victory as the Electoral College goes off without a hitch. An Ipsos Mori poll with some even more. Every poll we learn more findings of the state of play in UK politics. Hint, it's wide open. And our opening story for today, the Christmas rules are under review. That's right, those Christmas rules that no one thought was a good idea. Well, they're under review, and let's dive into that, shall we? What is going on? So, of course, the Christmas rules announced by the UK government were 5 days, 3 households can mix. That was the gist of it. We were told, look, you lot are going to misbehave anyway, therefore we're going to let you misbehave. That is the state of play. That is what we were told. That is where we are. But of course, with COVID on the rise in parts of Britain and everything not looking so peachy, the government is finally being frog-marched into reality, realising that there is a serious problem here. This does not look sustainable. This does not look stable. There has not been much talk. We've heard talk from various devolved administrations. We've heard, Nicola Sturgeon reconsidering. We've heard Arlene Foster reconsidering. This was a pact made, between all 4 UK governments, and it is rapidly falling apart at the seams. Now, let's hear what Dominic Raab said earlier.
So firstly, on what we're doing over Christmas, obviously we've gone from the national lockdown into the tiered approach. We have another review point on Wednesday, as has already been, I think, foreseen in the media, and we've made it clear. We're going to make sure we've got a very tight grip on the virus going into Christmas, but I do think it's important for people to be able to have, over that 5-day period, the opportunity to spend time with some loved ones, and we've built in the slack around Christmas to our wider approach, both in terms of the tiered approach, but also the community testing. So we're bearing down on the virus. We need to see ourselves through to the spring when we hope that we'll have a vaccine in place to change the whole nature in which we address the virus. But I do think it's important for people to be able to spend time with their loved ones over Christmas.
Sadiq Khan who has been stepping up over the last few days, is being the voice of caution here.
My concern is that over those 5 days, you could have 3 households of big sizes mixing, having sleepovers, hugging, kissing, all the things we normally do at Christmas time. And what would be really, really heartbreaking, knowing the vaccine is now being rolled out, is if you inadvertently pass the virus on to an older relation who could well lose their lives. And we know the vaccine is now here. And so what I'd say is, even though the rules are there, they're not mandatory. You don't have to have 3 households mixing for 5 days. You don't have to kiss and hug your loved one. Keep your windows open so there's good ventilation. If you want to spend time with somebody that you've not seen for a long time, which is perfectly understandable at this time of year, do so, but be fully aware that you could inadvertently be carrying the virus, not realise you've got it, and could pass it on. How would you feel if you did that?
Right. That's the state of play. We'll just read from an article in The Guardian. So Michael Gove is set to meet representatives from Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, to discuss the UK-wide approach that was agreed. He did meet them earlier today. Plans to review the rule were announced in a statement from Arlene Foster. Michael Gove spoke to all four of them. All three of them, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. They're talking... Labour is saying they'd commit to a tightening of the rules. They're urging the government to rethink its decision, especially 5 days, 23rd to the 27th. Keir Starmer has written to Boris Johnson, urging him to convene a meeting of COBRA, the emergency committee. Jeremy Hunt, former health secretary, has said it would be very, very dangerous and precarious for the NHS to enter January with very high levels of bed occupancy from COVID. And this is the killer, the one that's really shifted the dial today. Senior doctors called for a rethink of the Christmas relaxation plans. In a rare joint editorial, the British Medical Journal and Health Service Journal said the government could no longer claim to be protecting the NHS if it went ahead with its, quote, rash plans to allow households to mix indoors over Christmas. It's not looking good. It's looking like the rules could be tightened. The whole thing has been ludicrous from the start, okay? So the government finally started to get COVID a little bit more under control, and their immediate instinct off the back of that is to do something that's immediately going to provoke the whole thing and make it catastrophic again. Stupid. It's bloody stupid. 5 days, okay? Every day is 5 more days of lockdown. We're looking at a month of lockdown. If we go ahead with the rules as proposed, I mean, even without them, it's looking bad. A January lockdown or the NHS overflowing is certain, one or the other. And we're so close to the end now. So why are we at the final hurdle going to be so stupid, so self-defeating? Right? An alternative idea would be what we should have done before. Okay? So the government has decided what people think before they know what they think. I think, and polling would suggest, that people would broadly obey the rules if we kept lockdown in over Christmas. Now, I would say what we do is we basically make it clear we're not going to storm in, fine you, arrest you if you meet your family for Christmas dinner, okay? That's your stupidity. It's your human choice, right? No one is going to send drones to take pictures of you, post you on social media and shame you. No one is going to prosecute you. But we're advising you not to do it. The vaccine's on the way. Please, please, please stay. Here are all the different scientific experts telling you, look, unless you are on your own and want to bubble, please just keep it in the immediate family, except in extreme circumstances, because we are just on the cusp of a vaccine. Summer could be back to normal. Christmas could be back to normal next year. Please just stick with it a bit longer. It's not like we're having to stick with this indefinitely, in which case we'd have to adapt. This is, it will pass. Please, please, please cooperate until it passes. That's what we could say. We could make that case. I think most people would cooperate and will say, look, Christmas Day itself, the rules won't be forcibly applied in terms of households mixing, but please don't do it. And get all the scientists on everywhere saying, please, please stay home. That's what we do. And in doing that, we mean we can be going about our lives in January in a restricted but more normal way, as opposed to almost certain national measures off the back of the chaos that's going to ensue. And the needless deaths. We're going to be sacrificing people on the altar of Christmas. And it's going to be so self-defeating. People dead who wouldn't be dead if the government hadn't at the top not only allowed for 5 days 3 households mixing, but encouraging it, endorsing it, splashing it everywhere. And now they're going to change their mind. And do you know what's worse than locking down over Christmas? Changing your mind on locking down over Christmas at the last minute. I mean, they had a problem with the punitive approach of keeping rules in place over Christmas, which aren't even going to be full lockdown, and just tears. And they are now going to do something far worse by dangling the carrot and removing it, now making themselves the Grinches who stole Christmas, when actually before, people would have been like, the government's being sensible, they're being pragmatic, we get it. You know, people aren't thick. They're not just going to be sat there like, you stole Christmas from us, we hate you now. People are fully aware of the risks, people are fully aware of the calculations, and people are not, you know, the government tells them it's fine, they're going to be like, oh, it must be fine. You've encouraged people. More people will gather over Christmas because of the U-turning, because of the fact the government encouraged it, than ever would have done before if we'd kept the rules in place and said, please obey the rules, no matter what day it is. Okay? There would not be a backlash against that. I just don't see that backlash. Especially if you said, you know, we're not going to send a SWAT team in to interrupt your nan giving a toast at Christmas dinner. You know, that's just punitive and ridiculous. But if you took the carrot rather than the stick approach, what we've done now is we've dangled the carrot, we're just whacking them with a stick. Stupid, stupid, stupid. The anti-lockdown argument is very much dead as well, because the vaccine, touch wood, is going to get things under control to an extent. You know, new strains of COVID new strains of COVID pending, but it presumably will. The anti-lockdown argument is dead. We're not learning to live with this because we don't need to. Let's just keep at this for a matter of months. If it looked like this was going to go on for 3 years, I'd be the first person saying we've got to really start looking at people's individual liberties, at civil liberties, at the fact that this is not sustainable psychologically or economically. But a bit longer? No. This is absolutely fine, right? It has to be done. Lives are worth saving. You know? Lives over Pret. Might be controversial, but it's true. Lives. Let's save lives. And I think the majority of people in Britain would probably agree with me on that. In fact, all polling data would indicate super majorities of people. You know, we don't agree on much, but people overwhelmingly agree that measures are needed. Common sense, sensible measures for now. The consent isn't wavering that much because we're not at the point it's been going on that long. And it's not going to go on indefinitely. It's really not. So just stick with it for now. Our next story of the day is an Ipsos Mori poll taken, which refreshes, you know, the changes are from October. It was last done in October. This was recorded over the 4th and 11th of December. And let's have a look what the state of play is if you turn to the screen. So, Conservatives on 41%, gaining 4 points, and Labour also on 41%. It's a dead heat, and that's a loss of 1 point for Labour. If this result were reflected in a general election, Labour would be on 268 seats. That's a gain of 66 from the Tories, bringing the Tories down, minus 66, to 299 seats. That is broadly the same in terms of seats as what Labour, I think it's exactly the same. It's pretty much what Labour got in 2017. And for the Tories, that would be their worst result since 2005, I believe. Yes, 2005. In terms of seats, not votes, of course. In 2005, they got 306 seats. And that would actually, yes, be Labour's best result since 2005 in terms of, we're talking in terms of seats, because vote share becomes irrelevant under first past the post. Since their 355 seats in 2005, this would be the most seats they'd gain. So this is, by all means, an improvement on, by all measures, on 2017, and huge on 2019. If this was the result, this swing was reflected, the likely scenario in that hung parliament would be a minority Labour government. And yeah, under that data, Keir Starmer would be the Prime Minister. There you go. What this tells us, that we haven't seen from previous data, is it looks like a big base for both parties. You know, both of them are heading towards something like 40%. Labour's got a chunk, Tories have got a chunk. It's looking very, very American. Both parties are garnering polarised opposites bases. It's a two-horse race. Johnson, Starmer, Labour and the Tories basically taking up 82% of the votes. On that same poll, the Lib Dems are on 6%. And the rest is frittered out between smaller parties. So, completely irrelevant. These two parties are the be-all and end-all under this data, which is an interesting finding because we haven't quite seen figures like this before, because they're both have got an impressive vote share there. And if this is accurate, it's very, very fascinating. We're getting to a US-style division, right? Higher education status voters going to Labour, lower education status voters going to the Tories, ethnic minorities going Labour, white voters more likely to go Tory. And yeah, the sort of cities and rural areas divide. It's all going a bit presidential. And you've got the contrast of Johnson, the sort of faux populist, nationalist, and then you've got Starmer, who's sort of the post-populist, centre-left, soft-left. Well, he's soft-left in the same way Biden would be for America, centre-left. But yeah, you've got the soft-left sort of sensible one there as well. And there are uncanny parallels with the political divisions in the last election in the States. Very much so. And those same sort of groups of people, the liberal elite uniting behind the Labour leadership and the sort of coalition of deplorables. I'm using that term ironically, of course, in reference to what Hillary Clinton said. I'm not calling Tory voters deplorable, but the coalition of deplorables uniting behind Johnson and the Tories because there's no alt-right offering that's gained sufficient traction. The map, as in the States, the Electoral College in the States, first past the post here, overwhelmingly favours the Tories. And even though there's big majority will, if we had proportional representation, most elections would come out with a centre-left government. We'll do some quick calculations here, and I'll prove my point. Whenever we look at the 2019, because under proportional representation, the percent of the vote you receive is the percent of the seats you receive. And if you look at that, and all those parties would have to cooperate, most elections would produce not a centre-right government, but a centre-left government led by the Labour Party. So if we go here and look at the percent of the vote received by the various parties in 2019, which is a bellwether because, if you like, really bad result in terms of seats for Labour that election. So they got 32.1 in terms of vote share. That's wrong, isn't it? Why is it saying that? That is not... I believe it was more like 33, 34. Let me double check. 2019 general election. Oh, yeah, but as I'm saying, broadly, the map favours, under first past the post, it favours the Tories because they pile it on in all the right seats. That's how they do it. That's what they do. And if we pile the vote share together, so seemingly 32.1 for Labour, 43.6 for the Tories, and add to that 2.7. Oh, hang on, I've got the calculations very wrong. Never mind. We'll try that another time. The underlying point is that there's a majority in that parliament, if it was only done on vote share, for a progressive centre-left government led by Labour. Even in that election, which was, the landslide sweeping victory for the Tories, no, there'd just be a large opposition if that was reflected accurately. So there you go. And, proportional representation very much needed. Now, Mitch McConnell has congratulated Joe Biden on winning the Electoral College, because that's now been confirmed. Let's have a listen to Joe Biden. Mitch McConnell.
The Americans voted in this year's general election. The legal and constitutional processes have continued to play out since then. Yesterday, electors met in all 50 states. So as of this morning, our country has officially a president-elect and a vice president-elect. Many millions of us had hoped the presidential election would yield a different result. But our system of government has processes to determine who will be sworn in on January the 20th. The Electoral College has spoken. So today I want to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden. The President-elect is no stranger to the Senate. He's devoted himself to public service for many years. I also want to congratulate the Vice President-elect, our colleague from California, Senator Harris. Beyond our differences, all Americans can take pride that our nation has a female Vice President-elect for the very first time. I look forward to finishing out the next 36 days strong with President Trump. Our nation needs us to add another bipartisan chapter to this record of achievement.
There we go. So, slow clap for Mitch McConnell there. And all the latest on what happens. Basically, the Electoral College went off without a hitch. Everything went to plan. Have a listen.
Joe Biden has been formally certified as the next President of the United States and has promised to govern for all Americans. The state of California has formally delivered its 55 electoral votes to Mr. Biden, and that has taken him decisively over the 270 vote threshold needed to secure the White House. Russia's President Putin has finally congratulated Mr. Biden on his victory, saying he hopes their two countries can set aside their differences. Our North America correspondent David Willis reports.
For Joseph R. Biden of Delaware, a Democrat, ayes 55, noes 0.
The moment Joe Biden formally became this country's president-elect, California's electors awarding him the votes he needed to clear the 270 threshold in America's Electoral College. And having held off condemning Donald Trump's unprecedented attempts to overturn the election result, now was the time to hit back.
The flame of democracy was lit in this nation a long time ago. And we now know nothing, not even a pandemic or an abuse of power, can extinguish that flame.
Donald Trump had warned that certifying the votes would amount to a severely punishable crime in the light of what he claims was widespread voter fraud. But the claims are unsubstantiated, and courts across the country have failed to support them, as has this man, the Attorney General Bill Barr. It's now been announced that Mr. Barr will be stepping down. Bill, said the president in a tweet, will be leaving just before Christmas to spend the holidays with his family. All this on a bittersweet day as...
So there you go. It's done. It all went through. Once again, as Boris Johnson would say, the doomsters and the gloomsters were proven wrong. Nothing catastrophic happened. Biden got over the line. Congratulations to Joe Biden, who was the president-elect, has been the president-elect, should have been acknowledged weeks ago, but he's there. That's where he is. And congratulations to Kamala Harris on being officially the vice president-elect. Now, of course, they keep moving the goalposts. These Trump people, they're like, no, wait till the Electoral College. This is just like Bush v. Gore. Now, we've got to wait till the congressional session on the 6th of January. Apparently that's when something majestical and wonderful will happen. No, nothing's going to happen. It's going to go off without a hitch as well. We're probably going to get to see Mike Pence admit the truth on to the world on national, international television. So, great, good stuff. This is going to cause permanent damage, though. The lies, the trickery, the treachery. 40% of Americans already view the incoming administration as illegitimate. That is shocking. Shocking, obscene, and disturbing. That's how I would put it anyway. We're in serious trouble. Expect more moves from Trump, probably an announcement of a 2024 run. He's not said much. He's basically gone underground. Biden's speech was good. He coughed a lot. I don't know why they didn't give him a Strepsil. Like, the poor guy was just coughing half the time. It's like, surely you, if you're going like, like, sort that out before you go on television. But it was a good speech, and he did, as well as some of the wishy-washy nonsense about bipartisanship, he came out and he said, this is ridiculous, it has to stop. And he directly spoke about the GOP officials, the 60% of Republicans in the House. And good on him, right? That's what he should be doing. He should be saying, look, these lot are clowns. They're ridiculous. There's permanent damage done to faith in democracy. The GOP establishment has clearly had enough as well. That's the final takeaway here. The GOP establishment has said, look, your time's up. You've served your purpose. We're done. And that's what we're seeing happening right now. On Bill Barr going, he said some things that might be construed as factually accurate, therefore he has to go. That's how things work in this White House. And, yeah. Roll on, the 20th of January, 21st, 20th, it's one or the other. Roll it on, bring on the new administration. Trump is, always was, and always will be, a loser who fell upwards. And he really deserves this. And it's great to watch. And we're going to watch him lose again and again and again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, unless he wins in 2024. Thank you very much for listening today. Coming up to 7:30, I will be back with you at 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time tomorrow for another edition of Mesme Politics. My name is Toby Lepati Mesme. Thank you for joining me. Get in touch in the comments, anything you want us to talk about or address, and I'll see you in 24 hours.